is Don Hall. I've been making art since basically I was in kindergarten. I loved art, and when I got to junior high, I discovered I could take art as an elective. I got to high school, I took art every semester. When I graduated from high school, I discovered you could be an art major in college, and I've been making art ever since. My piece in the show is a takeoff of Bob Ross, the Happy Trees painter. I have been doing a series of paintings that I do takeoffs of other artwork from other artists, and so this is just one of my last in the series.
My name is Bobby Powell. I got started making art when my kids were little and I needed something to do, so it became a hobby, and then when I retired I started doing it almost full time. My piece in the show is one of my latest works. It's flowers, which I've always done. However, I'm using different palette and new textures.
Ursula Johnson. How I got started in art, that goes back a long time. I've been an artist for over 50 years and came very naturally to me. I started out in journalism and ended up in art because I like them both equally. I've worked in many media. I didn't get started in oils till I moved from Marin to this area and been serious about it ever since. It's a very personal piece. It's showing the beams for a house that my husband designed when we were living in Auburn, our dream house. And when it was under construction, I would come in after the guys had gone for the day, lie down on the subfloor, look up in the beams, took many photos. So this is a photo in my interpretation of what I felt and saw about the structure of that house.
My name is Karen Folk, Karen Golden Folk. Well, I've always done art since I was a kid, but professionally, ever since I graduated from UC Davis in 1965. My piece in the show is called When Push Comes to Shove, and it incorporates some of my vintage collection of old wallpaper that I found in an old store in Oakland, California a long time ago. My husband's fedora hats and his 1940s ties. And I put them all on a flamingo stuffed animal that I made a long time ago out of vintage upholstery material.
Norman Ashcraft, and the artist for this show and for the painting is my late wife, Eileen Ashcraft. Eileen was a member of the Art Association here in Roseville that was at the Heyman House, and then later has been a member of the Blue Line Gallery. She started early with art. She won the Bank of America Fine Arts Award in high school at El Cerrito High School in her early days. She studied art, history and art at the University of California, Berkeley, and she got her degree in that. And during that time, she did many paintings in the abstract impressionist style. Later in her life, she changed course a bit and studied architectural drafting at Sierra College and worked for 20 to 25 years doing drafting of working drawings and architecture renderings for many residences and buildings here in the area. Yeah. The piece in the show is kind of self-explanatory. It's the picture of a boy enjoying himself in a stream, and actually that boy is our youngest son, and the stream was his grandparents' stream to his grandparents' home.
My name is Robert Chapino. I started in photography in the late 50s, early 60s, and I've spent my career in photography, both commercial illustration and aerospace. I've exhibited in shows throughout the state and contests and things. It's actually an acrylic painting. It's a backlit sunflower. I like to paint from some of the photographs that I've done, and that's what this is.
Hi, I'm Melanie Gruby, and I'm so excited to share my art with you today. How I got started making art? Well, I have always made stuff, but I didn't really call it art. And I really focused on my academics until I was re-entering the workforce, and I thought I would go and become an elementary school teacher, and went back to get my teaching credential. And as soon as I started classes, I started getting sick, like really, really sick. And it was like 2 years of unrelated illnesses coming up and up and up, and 2 surgeries. And it got so bad until the point that I felt like the life was being squeezed out of my body, like paint out of a tube. And I stopped and said, what did I do? What did I do to deserve this? And a little voice said, it's not what you did, it's what you didn't do. You didn't pursue your passion and your art career. And so I made the change. I started getting serious about my art and making it my career, and the illnesses dissipated, and I have never felt so right as I do now. And I felt like I had found my home. My piece in the show is called Skelly Ball, and it's inspired by Day of the Dead and Halloween. And the skeleton figures just popped out of the paint spatters, and they were so full of life and energy, and I felt that life and energy and movement as I worked on them. And each one has its own personality, so I just had so much fun bringing out their individual quirks and their individual traits. But even with all this life and energy happening, I felt this kind of calm as I worked, as if everything has a place and that I could be all right with it. I didn't have to fix it, and I didn't have to worry about it. And so as I worked on them, I deepened them, and I used these carbon crystal pastels which reflect the light and kind of give it a dimensional quality.
My name is Diana Lacan. My father was a fine artist, and when I was very young, even doing coloring books, he would show me the principles of shading and various aspects, just the use of color to make it more dimensional. And he continued working with me, and now that he's gone, I feel like I'm kind of honoring his memory by continuing my art. Well, the one piece is Boatman of India, and it was inspired by a photo shoot by Louis Kleinhaus, who's a photographer, and he spent some time in India. And when I was looking at his different photographs, I just fell in love with this subject matter, and so I asked him, I go, is there any way that I can use this as a subject for my painting? And he said, absolutely. And I was just so thrilled because I love the ruggedness of the man. You could see the weather on his face, and his boat was all weather beaten, and you can just see the toil under the hot sun. And it was just an amazing picture, the way he captured his foot in the foreground and then the rest of him as he's rowing the boat. So that really inspired me.
My name is Christine Muratori Evans. Age 5, just started to see the world through visual elements, and it was just a natural to, of course, repeat those images at first hand and then explore expanding those images. The piece I have in the show is called Flurry. It is part of a larger body of work, basically focused on fabric in motion. I draw down the essence of the iteration of that fabric in motion, extract and reinterpret those components to recreate another visual experience.
My name is Linda Nunes. Wow. I have a collage background. I'm a mixed media girl. I finally went back to school and got my studio art degree from Sac State. I learned about encaustic there, and it's the perfect medium for a mixed media girl. You can do so many things with it, so many other things work with it. So I'm kind of in heaven working with encaustic, and I've found my place, my niche. So the piece in the show is called the World Cup. If you look into the cup, you'll see the word world there. It's 3 pieces. It's created from wire and tissue and encaustic. It's very fragile and light. Fragile, kind of like our world.
My name is Lisa Aikenhead. I decided in 2007 that my interest in photography, I really wanted to take it seriously. Before I had just played around with it since I was a kid, and 2007 I thought I really want to get good at this. So I decided to spend a year pretending I was going to college in photography. I'd spend about 2 hours every single day working on my photography so I could improve my skills. My photograph, The Chase, Wolves in Yellowstone, is a part of the show at Blue Line Arts. I took this photograph on a cold winter day in January in Yellowstone National Park. I had the great privilege of watching a pack of wolves hunting for over the course of 2 hours. They tried to bring down 3 different bison.
My name is Bill Foley. I got started in the 60s going to college at UC Davis at a time when ceramics was thought to be a pretty fashionable way to spend your time. Initially didn't intend to be serious about it, but eventually became very serious. My piece in the show is a casting from a grocery store mannequin adorned with low fire, bright color glazes. Intended to look good as much as to say anything, I guess.
My name is James Mullen. I was an artist from birth. My piece in the show, like all my pieces, is informed by the spirit of Dada, the sense of nonsense. In 1915 Zurich, when World War I was brewing and commercialism was becoming rampant, and a group of artists decided that if war and consumerism made sense, they chose nonsense. And I share in that spirit. I choose nonsense.
Hi, my name is Jerry Barnes. Well, like many of us, I guess we all started off when we were children and drew, but I really got back to my art when I retired about 5 years ago. I had to obviously earn a living, like we all had to do, so I'm afraid art went by the wayside. And then when I retired, I went back to my art.
Show.
Okay, the piece I have on my show reflects some of the things that I'm interested in, which is history. And I like the history of the period of the 1890s, and especially I was looking at women's dress during that period, and you might remember they had these very, they wore corsets and they were very constrained in their dress. So I was trying to do something that was completely the opposite to that. So I've done these rather large figurative pieces, but they're very stylized.
My name is Paula Bush. Been doing it my whole life. I know that sounds trite, but I was a person who never changed my major in college because I always knew I wanted to be an artist. I'm working with encaustic media, and this piece is a little new for me. It's a new series I'm doing using found rusted objects that I either wire, sew, or screw into cradle board that's covered with encaustics, and then I etch fine lines into the encaustic surrounding the image and fill those lines with white oil stick.
My name is Gail Roger Streff. When I was in high school, I was selected as the photographer for the school yearbook, and it was the most interesting project I ever did in high school. So I went off to college and I went into graphic design, where I got my degree. The piece in this show is my first actual graphic piece in years, and it's something I felt rather deeply about as my eyesight has failed, and as my feelings about the country are also in question. And I think it has many different levels of thought, and I think that many different kinds of people will get different images from it, and I'm hoping so.
Hi, my name is Lindley Lickberg.
I started making art when I was in kindergarten, and it was my favorite activity. It's just something I've always done, use my hands and create things. The piece I have in the show is called Journey to the Apple Isle. I work a lot with people transitioning from this experience to the next, and so I work a lot with visible and invisible realms. And that was a piece that came up while I was working with somebody who is living with cancer and transitioned. So that's a lot of the work I do.
My name is Helen Plenert. I began doing art in high school. I just was fascinated with creating things out of nothing.
Oh, cool.
The piece I have in the show is basically it's from a postcard that was sent to me. It's my nephew at the Grand Canyon.
My name's Rhonda Campbell.
And I'm John.
I got started making art over 30 years ago. I started with just a neighborhood get-together sort of a thing, and I've been doing all 2D art, from etchings to painting. Started as an oil painter, photographer, whatever the 2D is, I've done it. And this one piece that I have in the show right now is acrylic mixed media. And I have just, it's just a lot of fun putting things together and to make art. Sometimes they have meaning, but usually they all tell a story. My art always tells a story. Even the photography, I always have a story behind it.
And I've been using Photoshop since 1991, version 1.0. And I've been a photographer now for, golly, 50 years or more. And the work that I'm doing now is kind of line drawing and bringing out the interesting parts of the photograph, because I've found that too many times when you go on a cruise or something like that and you want to take a picture of something, there's people all in the way. So I still like the people in the pictures because it gives it perspective. So I kind of leave the people in the picture but take them out.
My name is Tanya Martin. I got started making art on a study abroad at Sierra College in Paris. The piece in the show, it's one of a series called The War of the Seasons, and it's called Winter Protesting Spring, and it's based on the C.S. Lewis quote from the Screwtape Letters that says, the diabolical uncle says, there's nothing that throws a man in such a passion as taking away from him a tract of time that he considered his.